Pesahim, Amoud Yomi. We're going to be able to catch up today, B'ezrat Hashem, because today's Amoud is Amoud Bet, Be'ez Hashem. We spoke about in the Mishnah speaking about Korban Pesach. Korban Pesach, one of everything, we said yesterday, millions and millions of Jews over there shechting. There are, let's say, hundreds of thousands of Korban Pesach happening at one time in the Azara. And of course, part of the Korban Pesach is shechting it, receiving the blood. Let's remind ourselves, you shecht it, you get blood in a keli sharet. The keli sharet will be passed from one kohen to another all the way till the mizbeach. It will be poured on the mizbeach. It will get to the yisod the mizbeach, and then the person goes home and he eats the korban pesach. Of course, we also burn up the innards of the korban pesach on the mizbeach, on the altar. Now, there is what happens if you shech the korban pesach and the blood doesn't get to the mizbeach? So you have it in the keli, for example, and you spill it. What's to happen? What's the halacha? You did not do your mitzvah of Korban Pesach. It's no good, it's not kosher. You didn't get your mitzvah. So Rabbi Yehuda wants to find a way to be able to prevent that from happening, and he has a patent. Just to be clear, if the blood comes from the animal onto the floor, it's puzzle, nothing to do. If it gets into a cup and you spill it, well, if you're able to pick it up and bring it back, well, then you can go ahead and put it back on the mizbech.
Even though it's the kohanim fault?
Yeah, doesn't matter whose fault it. Doesn't matter. So Rabbi Yehuda has a patent. What does he want, Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda says, well, there's a lot of blood in the Beit Mikdash on the floor, and take a big bowl over there and scoop up, put a full cup of blood. That means that blood already is mixed up with all the blood on the floor. And if anybody spilt the blood of the Korban Pesach, well, you have a cup over here, and before it gets poured out to the outside, before it gets outside and it's drained out, so you're going to take that cup and you're going to pour it on the mizbech, and that way you're saving the people who their things spilled. Even though they don't know where it was. Because you have a cup that you pick up some of everything, we're assuming that everything is mixed up on the ground, a little bit of one drop of each Korban Pesach is going to go into the cup, and then you can do the mitzvah. And the Chachamim did not agree with Rabbi Yehuda. So that's what we're holding on Samichei, at a little bit more than halfway through the page. Last word in the line is Rabbi Yehuda. It's there, the two dots, and then Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda omer kos haya mimane. Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda omer kos haya mimane midam ha'tarovot. So what you do is you take all the blood that's mixed on the floor, you fill up a cup, and the reason you do that, sheim yishapech damo shel echad men nimtza ze machshiro, because if somebody spilled his blood, so you're going to be able to save the day. You have a cup and you picked it up from the ground, some it from the ground, and you're going to go to spill in his bag, and that way the person did his mitzvah. Amru le Rabbi Yehuda ve'alo no nitkabel b'keni. Rabbi Yehuda, 1 second, that blood that's spilled on the ground, it didn't get into a cup. It went straight on the floor. The Gemara says b'keni mina yada. 1 second, how is the makshe asking that it didn't mina yada? How do you know that it's spilled on the floor? So really, the real question, what they asked to Rabbi Yehuda, 1 second, maybe what you're picking up on the ground, it never got into a cup. There's two ways that blood could spill, like we explained before. It could spill from the animal straight to the floor, and then it's done. You can't do it. Even if you pick it up and throw it in the mizbech, it's too late. Or it went into the cup, and from the cup it spilled to the floor. Then you can pick it up. So Rabbi Yehuda, you're picking up blood from the floor, because maybe out of the hundreds of thousands of people over here, somebody spilled. And you're going to put it over there, and then you're going to put it on the mizbech, and you're going to make an announcement. Everybody's good to go, because even if you spilled your blood, it's kosher. You could go home and eat your korban pesach. Everybody's fine. The Gemara is asking, how do you know that you're picking up blood that fell from a cup to the floor? Maybe it fell straight to the floor, and then there's no tikkun. So the answer is Rabbi Yehuda. Yeah, I'm talking about blood that fell from a cup onto the floor. The Gemara says, how do you know, Rabbi Yehuda? Answers, Kohanim zrizin, and the Kohanim are zrizin. Kohanim do their job well. They for sure get the blood from the animal. When the animal is shechted, it's true that a regular zar can shecht it, a Jewish person can shecht it, but the Kohen's right there ready to get the blood from the neck. He's standing. And the Kohanim, you can count on them that they did their job right. They are called zrizin. We have a klal, it's all in Shas, Kohanim get the job done. The Gemara says, okay, if they're so zariz, how did they spill it? If they get the job, if they're so quick, how did they spill the blood? So you're saying, yes, they got the blood in the cup, and then the blood spilled on the floor. How did they spill on the floor? Their strength is their weakness. They're so zariz to make sure they get it, and they're going so fast. How do you make sure you get to every animal? Because you're rushing. But if you're rushing, that means on the way out, you might spill it. Every person in general, his strength is his weakness. And the tzaddikim, they're able to neutralize the weakness of every midah. And the guy who's angry is usually the guy you give you a kiss and the first guy to help. He's mad at you, but he's the The guy who never not mad you doesn't tell you hi also. You know, it's the Kohanim are zariz, so they're the ones that spill. Anyways, but the Gemara says "Ve'alo dama tamtzit me'oraba." Well, okay. So we're assuming that Kohanim got all the blood, and while they're rushing to bring it to the Mizbeach, it fell on the ground. But the problem is, there's another type of blood on the ground. It's called dam tamtzit. Now I'll explain. There are 3 stages of the blood, or even 4 stages when you shecht an animal. When you shecht an animal, the first blood that's coming out, it first starts black, and then it turns to red, and that is just drizzling and dripping from the neck. It's not a big stream. At a certain point, if you cut properly the neck, then the can and the beshet, there starts to be a kiluach, a stream of blood flowing on the ground. That's the blood that needs to get on the mizbech. And I'll tell you another halacha. There is, if you eat blood, it's karet, right? But which blood is in karet? Usually it's only that one that the nefesh is yotzeh. Kadamu banefesh, the nefesh is, in the 5 levels of the soul, the nefesh is the lowest one, which even a person has, an animal has. Adamu banefesh, that's why the blood is the most spiritual, physical part that you have inside of you. The most spiritual part of your body is the blood. It's actually the interface between your body and the soul. It's the lowest part of the soul, which is the nefesh. And so that is a karet, and that is also the blood that you need to pour in the mizbech. The first blood that drips out of the neck is pasul for the mizbech. It's not kosher. So let me ask you a question. What is most of the blood on the floor? Most of the blood on the floor is dam tamtzit. And you know why that's true? Because when the guy shechs it, nobody's picking up that one. The first drops that are coming out, all that's on the ground. Then when it starts to be the kuluach, the Kohen puts the cup to be able to get that blood. That's the blood we're looking for. So now imagine in the cup, the guy has the blood, that's the good blood, and he spills it. But what is he spilling it into? He's spilling it to dam tamtzit that's all over the floor. So even if you, Rabbi Yehuda, come and take a cup from the floor, you have what's called bitul berov. If you have a cholent, and you have a big cholent that's can serve 100 people, and you have a few drops of milk that fell inside of it, there's no more milk. You can eat the whole cholent. It's called bater berov. So here too, the real blood that's spilled from this cup, 1 cup spilled, but there's gallons and gallons and gallons of dam tamtzit on the floor. So when you're going to pick up from the ground, what did you get? It's all bater. There's no more blood that is the one that's supposed to go on the mizbech. We're asking Rabbi Yehuda. The answer is the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda nitame damar dam tamtzit dam al yahu. Because Rabbi Yehuda, we know that he holds that there's no difference between dam tamtzit, the first blood, and the regular blood of the dam kiluach. How do we know that? Detanya dam tamtzit be'azara. Rabbi Yehuda omer bihi karet. So like I said before, when a person eats blood, it's a karet. Which blood? Not the dam tamtzit, the flowing blood. The dam tamtzit, the first blood, when the animal is killed, when the animal shechted, that is an azhara. It's a lo taseh.
It says the first blood is the lifeblood, and after it's tamtzit.
Maybe there's 2 levels. I'm telling you, I didn't tell you the last level. So it's dam tamtzit at the beginning, the lifeblood, and at the end, the dam tamtzit, at the very end also. So it could be the first ones that drizzling out and the last ones. That's what I think it is. What does it say there?
The blood that drains out of the slaughtered animal after the splurt of lifeblood, only the dam nefesh, the lifeblood, may be used for the blood avodot. The blood that drains afterwards, the dam tamtzit, is invalid.
Okay, so I think it's also. Does he speak about the first drops that are coming out? From what I saw, that there's dam tamtzit could be 2 times. Meaning there's the one blood, the kiluach in the middle, and then there's the beginning and the end, which is tamtzit. Either way, there's a lot of dam tamtzit that we don't get into. So according to what is the difference between dam tamtzit and dam kiluach? Well, one is karet. According to Chachamim, the blood that's flowing is a karet. The other one is an azara lo taseh. Rabbi Yehuda says that even the dam kiluach, the dam tamtzit is a karet. So you see that he holds this the same status blood, but that doesn't work as well. Why? But according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not true. Because it's true that you hold that the same karet for the dam tamtzit, but what blood works on the mizbech? Only the dam of the nefesh, which is the dam kiluach. So how do we answer this up? Dam shal nefesh yotzeh bo mechaper. Dam shal nefesh yotzeh bo and mechaper. So we all agree that the dam kiluach is the dam. We just turned the page. The dam kiluach is the dam that nefesh, and that's the one you have to throw on the mizbech. So how does it work? Answers the Gemara, and Amar Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda letame damar dam and dam mevatel dam. There's no bitul. There is bitul when milk falls into cholent. There is bitul when wine falls into beer. There's bitul when min b'mino. But min b'mino, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no bitul. So it always has its status, even though it's 1,000,000 times more. So just to repeat everything we just said. There is halacha that when you are doing Korban Pesach, you got to do a few things. You got to shecht it. You got to get the blood.
Why it's like that dam no batel bedam?
Shitat Rabbi Yehuda in general, in Isur Heter, is min b'mino and batel. Learning from here. There's no bittul, and it's learning from
What is
psukim.
the reason?
It's psukim. So it's speaking about the korbanot over there that it's just exerat hakatuv. According to Rabbi Yehuda, exerat hakatuv. And how could we give a reason to it, Natan? Is when one overpowers the other one, this one's gone. But if they're both the same, so why do you have more status than this one? That's in the So let's just repeat everything we had now. When we are shechting the animal, you got to shecht it. Korban Pesach. You got to get the blood, and then you got to throw the blood on the mizbeach. When you get the blood, if the blood goes straight on the floor, it's not kosher. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about blood. If the blood goes into the cup and then it spills on the floor, it is kosher. So then, what does Rabbi Yehuda say? But what happens in the basement? There's not only that blood on the floor. There is blood when you shecht the animal at the beginning, a few drops. There is the blood of the kiluach that comes into here. That's the good blood that has to get to the mizbeach. This is the one that has to get to the mizbeach. And then there's the leftover blood when it's just drizzling a little bit and dripping at the end, where it goes on the floor as well. So now the Kohen gets the cup of the good blood that has to get on the floor. Has to get in the mizbeach. He spilled it. It's spilled. We know. A few 100,000 korbanot, one guy spilled it. So misken, the guy's going to go home. No korban pesach, too bad for you. You're going to miss out. So Rabbi Yehuda has a trick. No, we're going to get blood from the floor. And since there's a big irbuvi of all the blood, I don't know, maybe they take a big spoon and they stir it up. So at least one drop, because all you need is one drop. One drop of that guy's is going to get inside over here. That's what we're assuming. And once we do that, we take it and we go and we throw it in the mizbeach at the end of the day, so everybody got his mitzvah. We asked the question of Rabbi Yehuda, why does that work? On the floor, there's hundreds of gallons of dam tamtzit, the first blood and the last blood, which is not the blood that needs to get in the mizbeach. And it's true, there's a little bit of dam nefesh that's on the floor, but when you're taking it, it's baten, it's gone. So we answer, no, it's not baten according to Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda holds the opinion, min bemino enu baten. Blood in blood is not bitul, it still retains its status. You don't know which one it is, but it's okay. 1 millimeter, 1/1,000,000th of a drop is over here. We're assuming like that. When a liquid is all together, we're assuming that all the particles are intertwined in all the particles. So you're getting one little minuscule, one fraction of a drop in here, and that's going to go on the mizbeach, and it is kosher. The Gemara asks a question, Tanya. Amar le'en Rabbi Yehuda nerachamim. Rabbi Yehuda tells the Chachamim, b'divrechem. So Rabbi Yehuda wants to prove his point that we should do this, and he asks a question, b'divrechem, according to you, lama pokikin et azara? So you know that, like we said yesterday, we do it all the time. Any Erev Pesach, what we do is that there is, of course, like we said yesterday, this is the Mizbeah, this is the Azara, and there is a little hole over here in the wall, and there's a hole over here in the wall, and there's a stream of water, the Meshiluach, that's coming through here. So there's always a little stream, and that stream is very useful to have water in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Azara. What do we do when the Korban Pesach, there's so much blood on the floor? So what we do is we block up the hole. We block up the hole, and what it does is it floods. The blood goes up, and the water is going to come in. It's going to flood also. It's going to get all together, and then when you open up the pkak, everything is going to come out. It's going to clean, and all the blood is going to leave. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's another reason why we block it up in the regular time of the year. The reason why we block it up is we don't want the blood to go out. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we want the blood to stay, so that when I take a cup, I'm taking a cup of all the blood that was there, and if somebody spilled it, I have his blood. So we block up the hole to make it flood a little bit the blood. But according to you, Chachamim, that we don't do that. Why do you want to flood up the blood over here? You don't take buckets and clean it up. Why do you want to make a flood? You're flooding the floor with blood. Why do you want to do that, Chachamim? The answer is Amulo Shevachun. This is interesting. We need a pshat over here. Shevachu libnei Aaron shelechu ad arkobotehem bedam. It is a praise. It's beautiful to be able to walking till your ankles in blood. We want you to get the feet bloody. The Meiri explains that when there's a lot of blood, you see that there was a lot of korbanot, and then you see that Am Yisrael Bekuno came and everybody brought their korbanot. Wow. Everybody brought their korban, everybody was here, it's full of blood, it's wonderful, Am Yisrael is doing the mitzvot, so we want the feet to get bloody. What's interesting, why only the Kohanim? Everybody's there. That's what it says. Now, the Gemara says, so that's why. We want to show, they're not allowed to wear shoes in the Beit HaMikdash, so their feet are bloody. Good. The Gemara says, one second, there's an halacha that the Kohanim needs to, when they're doing the avodah, they need to be standing on the floor of the Azara. They can't be standing on a chair, they can't be standing on their friend's feet, they can't be standing on anything. They can't take a chair and stand on it. If they do it, that's possible. So blood is going to be a chatzitza. They're standing on blood. The Gemara answers, lachu ve'eno chotzetz. Liquid does not chotzetz. Whenever you can have a chatzitza, a woman goes to mikveh, it's not chotzetz liquid. For example, Detanya, Adam v'adio v'chalav v'advash yeveshim chotzitzin. So if a person goes to the mikveh, if he has blood, if he has ink, if he has milk, if he has honey that are all dried up and coagulated on his skin, that's a chatzitza. That is a separation between his skin and the water of the mikveh. Lachin and chotzitzin. So there's no problem with chatzitza over here because it's as liquid. It's liquid blood. But the Gemara says vaka mit vase ma'anayu, but they're getting their clothes dirty. And we know the halakha is v'tnan ayu begadim mitush. If ayu begadim mitush tashin, if they have dirty clothes. If they have stains, the Kohen has to have white clothes, right? And if he has a stain on his clothes, it's not kosher. The avodah is not kosher. So you see, they're getting their pants. If they're going up to the knee. What was akuvot? It says the knees or to the ankles. I think I'm going to go to the ankles. Anyways, they're walking in blood. They're going to get their pants dirty. The mechnasayim, they're going to get dirty, and they're going to have their chaluk over there. It's like they had like a janaba, right? So they're going to get it dirty. How are the Kohanim allowed to get dirty clothes? The Gemara says, "Vikitema dimadlu neumanayu." Okay, maybe they're picking up their pants. They're rolling them into shorts. So they picked it up and they're working it with the jalaba picked up. Vatanya, the Gemara says, abraita madu bad. The pasuk says mido is his size bad. The clothing needs to be the size of the Kohen. Did you know that every Kohen had his custom tailor-made suit because it has to fit him specifically, and it wasn't like one size fit all because even every year he might have to change it because he gained weight, he lost weight, he grew, and so the Kohen has to have a tightly fitting clothes. And if madu kemidato shelo yichsav v'lo yotir.
So Achashverosh was exactly the size of the.
Wow, Amoud. Mordechai.
Yeah.
Who? Mordechai.
No, the guy died. He wore the vest.
Mordechai was the size of Achashverosh.
Mordechai was a Kohen Gadol. He wore this vest.
Wore the big day.
Whose vest did he wear?
No.
The
Kelim was, but the levush, it was a levush malchut, not levush.
Right.
I thought it was Kohen Gadol. Isn't there a pasuk? I thought he wore the clothing of the Kohen Gadol. Isn't that what this?
He wore the Kohen of Achashverosh. But Achashverosh took out all the kelim and the suda of the Kohanim, and we came out to that suda. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When he came out to the suda, he came out with the same thing of the big nekuna. He did come out with something, and that was a big problem. Okay, so the Gemara says, so you see that he can't lift his pants up because they have to fit him perfectly. V'lo yotir. So the Gemara answers, Borachat evarim. When is he walking in the blood? When he's carrying the limbs to burn them on the mizbeach. He's carrying the limbs. Delav avodahi. That's not part of the mitzvah of the korban. The Gemara says, "V'lo v'amidid bai kiuna avodahi." 1 second. If it is part of the mitzvah because a kohen has to do it, so therefore bringing the limbs is also a mitzvah. Ve'kiriba kohen et hakona mizbecha zorachat evarim nekeves. So you got to bring the limbs up to the ramp. Don't forget on the top of the mizbech there was wood. So the kohen is walking in the blood only when he's bringing the wood. He's lifting up his pants. He's walking to his knees, to his ankles in blood. And that's not really a mitzvah. And that is to show, look, that the Kohanim, there's so many korbanot over here that they're walking in the blood. So that was what they were doing, and that's why it's not pasul. So according to Chachamim, why do we block up that there should be blood in the whole Beit HaMikdash? For the chibah of the Kohanim to walk in the blood when they're bringing the etzim to the Mizbeach. But the Gemara says, but they can't walk with their clothes because they're going to get their clothes dirty. If they get clothes dirty, everything else is pasul. Any avodah of the Korban can't be with dirty clothes. So and they can't lift up the clothes. So they won't.
It says that they were lifting it up also. If they lifted it with a belt, they would invalidate the service also.
Everything's invalid, right? So the Gemara says, okay, that's good for that. But how would they do the rest? Mia, the Gemara says, okay, now if they're actually bringing up the avarim and they're bringing the blood, how do they do that? Everything, they're going to get their clothes dirty. The Gemara says, there are little itztabot, little stools, little steps built into the ground. You know when you... There was a lot of things that were built in the ground. It's in the ground, it's not a chatzitza. So therefore, on Erev Pesach, it's full of blood for two reasons. For the Kohanim to walk when they're not doing avodah, to get their feet dirty. But when, and for that, it doesn't matter if their clothes are dirty, if they lift up the clothes. But when they're doing the avodah, getting the blood, or bringing the blood to Mizbeach, or bringing the keves, they gotta stand on little stools. Now the little stools are built into the ground because you said before that you can't stand on anything that's a chatzitza, and that's what they were like jumping from thing to thing during the Korban Pesach. That's what it says over here on Erev Pesach. The Gemara says quickly, Keitzad tolin umafshitin. In our Mishnah we said, so then what he does is he takes his animal and he hangs it once it's slaughtered and he skins it. The Gemara says, Karu ve'otziu et emorim. So what do? They tear it open and they take out the innards.
This is the Kohanim or the people bringing?
So here it's saying that every regular guy is doing it. Nadnu b'migis laktiram. Then they put it in a bowl to burn it on the mizbech. The problem says, Atuhu gufe mekter. We know that the regular guy doesn't burn them. To go up in the keves, that's only the Kohanim. So how can the Mishnah say that he's putting in the bowl that he should burn them? So we answer, ema leaktiran al gava mizbech. Not that he's burning it, laktiram, so that it should be burnt on the mizbech, that the Kohen should do it. Basically, when you have your Korban Pesach, you can shecht it, you can get the Kohen's gonna get the blood, you can hang it, you can skin it, and you gotta take the stomach out, all the innards over there, the fats, you put it in a bowl and you give it to Kohen, the Kohen goes and burns on the mizbech.
The part that's going on to the mizbech, but the old keves is going to be outside.
Yeah, the rest you're going to take care of. Look what it says now. That's exactly what he's saying. Tana, yatzta kad rishona, Tana, kol echad v'echad noten pisro be'oro. Interesting. I think you actually take the leather of the skin of the Korban Pesach, and you put the meat inside the skin, and then you put it on your shoulder. Umafshil la'chorav, amar avilish tayaut, like the Arab merchants that they have things in the back of they're walking with these leather bags, and that's what you're doing. So you get there, you shecht your animal, you give the blood to the Kohen, you hang it up on the hook, you skin it, you take out the stomach, you put it in the bowl, you give it to the Kohen is bringing it to burn the mizbech. You take all the meat, you cleaned everything, everything's nice and good.
No, you have to be shalem. Only the inside going to the mizbech.
Ah, good, yeah.
Because you have to be shalem when you do the...
Okay, so what is it, what do you mean? So what does it mean, be'oro?
Huh?
So what does it mean, be'oro? So meaning...
No, they have the skin.
Tana kol echad noten pisro be'oro. What does it say there?
Each one puts his Pesach in its skin when they are walking home and swings it behind them.
But he's asking a good question. The korban has to be roasted in its entirety. It can't be roasted pieces.
I think the varim pnimim going on the mizbech.
Yeah, and then the rest. Yeah. So I don't understand what it means. Noten pisro be'oro. What does it mean? Be'oro.
Maybe put back the
skin?
shell.
Not
Yeah,
sure.
but they have to walk back to
their house.
to go roast.
Yeah, so you attach the things.
It looks like you're walking with the whole animal on your shoulder.
Yeah,
Be'oro.
yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't. There's nothing in the notes.
Okay.
That's
Basically what it was.
In the VR, that's what I saw.
In the video?
They were walking back with the thing, and then they went into it was like a built-up fire pit, and then they had a bar on top, and they would dump it in, roast it, and then bring it back to their camp.
Wow.
Ils ont fait ça doit être aussi un bois de grenade.
Exactly. Just read them. Okay, next, let's do the Mishnah, okay? Because this was our Amoud today, we're going to get to the bottom, it's not hard. Hadran alach tamid nishchad. Baruch Hashem, we're going to the 6th parak. We finished now the 5th parak. We're in Sabbath, but we're past halfway point of the Gemara. Erev dvarim bePesach duchin et Shabbat. So we said that the Korban Pesach is allowed to be brought on Shabbos. You're allowed to bring the Korban Pesach on Shabbat. What parts of the Korban Pesach are you allowed to do on Shabbos? Because don't forget, Shabbos is a Asur Menacha. Yeah? The Gemara says, Shrita to Zrikat Damo. So you're allowed to shecht it on Shabbat. You're allowed to throw the blood on the Mizbech on Shabbat. Umichui ke-ravav. And you're also allowed to empty out the stomach. The stomach has like excrement. Right? The stomach, the animal has excrement in the stomach. So you're allowed to empty it out. You're allowed to take it out because it's, and even though it's called mifarek. Because you know that if you take, in the Beit HaMikdash, if you have a kernel of wheat, and you have a shell around it, and you take the kernel from the outside, or if you take like olive oil from the olive, or if you take grape juice from the grape, that's called mifarek. Mifarek is taking anything from the inside. So the same thing the same thing over here. When you're taking the excrement from the inside of the stomach, it's nisodoraita, mifarek, but it's allowed because it's needed for the Korban Pesach. If you don't take it out, it's going to rot. Your whole thing's going to be disgusted. It's going to ruin your whole thing. Okay, v'akdarat chelavav. You're also allowed to burn the fats. Avad sliato v'adachat kirabav eno dochet Shabbat. To cook it, to roast it, and to clean it out, to wash it out, you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. You're not allowed, it has to be on Shabbat, you're not allowed to do that. So what are you allowed to do? Anything you need to do, anything you don't need to do, you can do the rest tomorrow. Tonight, it's now Shabbat. You're in the Beit Mikdash. You have your Korban Pesach. You shechter it. Yes. It's Shabbat. You're shechting. You're allowed to. You're allowed to throw the blood in the mizbech. You're allowed to bring the fats to burn them. You're allowed to take out of the stomach the excrement. You're allowed to do that, but you're not allowed to roast it, and you're allowed to wash it off. You do that on Motzei Shabbos.
How can you burn? How can you allow to burn its fat, but you can't burn the
It's
meat?
part of the mizbech. It's part of the mitzvah. Mitzvah of the day is to burn the fats and to burn the barim.
But what do you do with the meat?
It's not also.
Yes, but you're going to eat it that night. Don't forget, Korban Pesach is before Pesach, Erev Pesach, and you eat it at the nighttime. So when you get home, which is Motzei Shabbat, you do Abdana and you do barbecue.
Do you leave the meat out the whole time?
So that's what we said before. In our last parak, we said, when should you do Korban Pesach? There's an opinion that you should do it later in the afternoon, and we make you do it even after 9 hours in the day, so we don't want it to rot. There's an opinion that says it's not going to rot in that much time. I don't know these things, but it seems to me it's not going to rot within 6 hours, 7 hours. It's going to rot, an open meat. Do they salt it? I'm not sure if they salt it. I'm not sure.
Ah oui, on met du sel pour enlever le sang.
Yeah, but did they do that on Pesach? Did they do that? No, you don't need to. You only put salt on meat when you are cooking the meat in water. When you're roasting, you don't need to salt it because all the blood comes out when you're roasting. So they didn't need to salt
Ça
it.
marche pour le foie seulement, non?
For everything. Now foie, that's why we only roast the foie. You can't cook foie. There's no way to get it out. That's why we can only you can only grill the liver. The only way you can do it is by roasting. You can't cook it in water. So the Gemara says, okay, arkabato va'va'ato michutz letrum. So now if you want to pick it up and put it on your shoulder, and you're carrying it. So you're in Jerusalem, but you're carrying it. What's carrying, you're not allowed to carry in the Reshut Rabim. Or havato bichutz letrum, let's say it was outside the similar limits. We learned together Masechet Eruvin, so there's a tchum. So both these things are, let's say, even bringing outside the tchum is a derabanan. Even carrying over here, probably in a Reshut, it's probably a kamanit, it's probably derabanan, right? Oh, remember that stuff? So you're carrying it, and also chatichat yebalato, if it has a wart, you cannot bring a korban that has a wart. You got to cut it off. How do you cut it off? With a knife. But you could also do it with your teeth. You bite it off, or you do it with your nails. It's a derabanan. It's a derabanan. So therefore, en dochin et Shabbat. So these are derabanan. You can't do them on Shabbos. And the rule is, you could have done that before. Anything you can't do before, you can't do it today. So why are you doing that today? You should have got the word yesterday. You should have brought your bema yesterday. Why are you bringing it today? You should have brought it before Shabbat. So you can't do even a derabanan before Shabbat. That is the opinion of Tanakama. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, dochin. And Rabbi Eliezer says no. Rabbi Eliezer ben Okenus says even in the Rabbanan you're allowed to do it for the Korban Pesach. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer wants to prove his point. Halo dinhu, and I'll prove it to you. Ma im shchita shimishum melacha, shechting it, slaughtering it is doraita, samelacha dochet Shabbat. Ero shen mishum shvut, lo yitchut Shabbat. These which are only the Rabbanan, they won't push up for Shabbos. Meaning carrying it is only gonna push over the Rabbanan. So why wouldn't it push off the Shabbos? Amar Rabbi Yeshua tells Rabbi Eliezer, Yom Tov Yochiach, I'll prove it to you. Yom Tov, a regular Yom Tov, when you're doing a regular Yom Tov in your house, so you're allowed to cook meat, you're allowed to cook, but are you allowed to carry something, even do the Rabbanan? You're not allowed to do things the Rabbanan. I want to see the Rashi over this here. Look at the Rashi, it says, Yom Tov Yochichu. Shrita ubishum, shua menecha, mutarin yadot, basur lo navid, vam nichutz letrum. Very nice. So let's say I'm now Yom Tov, I'm allowed to cook, but I can't bring something from outside of the city limits, even though it's only the Rabbanan on Yom Tov. So you see that Yom Tov is proving that you can cook and you can't do the Rabbanan. So even here in the Korban Pesach, you can shecht it, but you can't do the Rabbanan and bring it outside the Tchum. On this, Rabbi Eliezer answered not sure. Mali Rabbi Eliezer, ma ze Yoshua. What are you talking about, Yoshua? They were friends, right? Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua are contemporaries. They're Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Maraya reshut mitzvah. What are you comparing? When you eating on Yom Tov, that's a reshut, but doing the Korban Pesach is a doraita. So don't bring me a proof from a mitzvah which is a reshut to a mitzvah which is a doraita. Rabbi Akiva is the student. So Rabbi Akiva is the student of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, and he says, Amar, Haza'ah tochiach, I'll prove it to you from Haza'ah, sprinkling the blood on the Mizbeach. Shumishum mitzvah, I'm sorry, my mistake. Haza'ah is talking about a guy that's tameh. So don't forget, if a guy's tameh met, what's the halacha? A guy that's tameh met is not allowed to bring a korban. He's not allowed to bring a korban. He's not allowed to bring a korban pesach. So what happens if the guy was tameh met, and his seventh day is turning out on Shabbat, and it's that day's Erev Pesach. So today's Shabbat, tomorrow's Pesach, today's Korban Pesach, only today. The guy was 1 week ago Tameh, he did all the things, and now he's on the last day, and on Shabbat we have to do the Haza'ah. Haza'ah is to take the Mechatat, the purifying waters from the Paraduma, and sprinkle it on him. That is only Sur de Rabbanan. What's the problem to do that? There's no problem to become pure on Yom Tov. But the problem is it looks like Metaken Gabra, which looks like Metaken Keli. If you're allowed, are you allowed to make a chair on Shabbos? You're not. Are you allowed to build a chair on Shabbos? Are you allowed to make a cup on Shabbos? I'm going to take glass, I'm going to make a cup. I'm not allowed to do that. That's Isur Boneh. It's Ose Keli, Makir Patish. So guess what? Even taking a Keli, for example, that's Tameh and putting the mikveh on Shabbos is Asr. What did you do? It's nothing. Because it looks like I made the Keli. I couldn't use it before. I use it now. Isur de Rabbanan of Boneh. It looks a bonu. So the same thing with a person. A person is tamei, can't do the korban. You sprinkle him, you made the guy. If you make the guy, you can make a keli. So it's isur de Rabbanan, and we don't let you do it, even though it's a mitzvah. Who says that? Rabbi Akiva. So even in a mitzvah, we don't let you do it the Rabbanan. That's what it says here. Aval bisham mitzvah, ben mishum shvut. I'll read it again. She mishum mitzvah, mishum shvut. It's a mitzvah, and it's still the Rabbanan. Ve'ena dochet Shabbat, and doesn't put Shabbat Shabbos. Rabbi Akiva had the tradition that you can't do it in Shabbos. You can't sprinkle. Af ata al titamei al edu. Don't be astonished by this that you can't bring the korban outside of the tchum. Shafal pishen mishum mitzvah. Even though bringing the korban pesach outside of the tchum or carrying it or cutting off the wart, it's a derabanan. Ve'en mishum shvut lo yitchut the Shabbos. It doesn't push up Shabbos. Amanu Rabbi Eliezer ve'alei anidan. What do you mean? You're wrong, Rabbi Akiva. I'm telling you, you can sprinkle the guy on Shabbos. You can do it. Even so, the Mayim Shchita Shemishum Menachad Dochet Shabbos, Haza'ah Shemishum Shvut Enodin Shedochet Shabbos. So now he's learning the opposite. The real question is, what do we do with the Haza'ah? Is Haza'ah mutar or is Asur? According to Rabbi Akiva, it's a tradition that Haza'ah is Asur. And even though it's only the Rabbanan, for the purpose of the guy doing the Korban. Still, you can't do it. So if you can't do that, you can't cut off a wart also in the Korban. You can't bring it from outside the Tchum. Rabbi Eliezer says, no, I never heard that it's Asur. And I'll prove to you that it's Mutter. Since you're allowed to be Korban Pesach, which is the right, I'm sure you can do is sprinkling the blood on the guy, which is the Rabbanan for Korban Pesach. And since you can do that, then you can do also bring it from outside the Tchum or cutting off the wart. Beruchim to you.